What's up, guys? Today I'm bringing to you the first video of Season 6 for me. Boy, am I glad Open Great League is back. I've been waiting to run this team for a while now, and it has been a blast. Before we get into the video, quick shout out to all my Patreon supporters. It is the first of the month if you would like to support me and get the full month of those benefits. And it's been a blast working with every single one of you so far. So I'm glad this has happened, and let's get right into this video. This team is a bit interesting. It's got 3 different counter users on it. It's taken me on a 15-game win streak right at the beginning of the season, and what essentially should have been a 20-game win streak if not for some game-losing lag. Like I normally wouldn't call a lag game 1, but this was pretty decisive. There wasn't much that I could do to mess that up. But as we go through this first game, I'll talk a little bit about how this team works and why it works, and a little bit of that team building process. So we have Deoxys-Defense in the lead, which is a bit odd. Vigoroth as the safe swap and Obstagoon as the closer. And what's interesting about this team is that they all run counter, and none of them are fighting types, so none of them have same type attack bonus on their fast move. But counter is probably the most broken move, the best move in the game, fast move in the game, sporting a 4 damage per turn and 3.5 energy per turn, which is it's the highest product of both of those. And fighting is a great offensive type too, as there's steals everywhere. So this team just puts on a lot of pressure with fast moves, and yet they all have a 35 energy charge move. So you're not really that dependent on getting their shields down, but at the same time, if their shields are down, you can deal a ton of consistent damage, and that's what's important with this team. So you notice the lead is a psychic type. The closers are both normal types. Psychic and normal actually have really good type synergy. Psychic resists normal's only weakness of fighting, and normal double resists Psychic's main weakness of ghost. As far as dark goes and bug goes, the dark type on Obstagoon helps resist dark. Bug type is nearly non-existent in GBL, so you don't really have to worry about it too much. And then Vigoroth is that safe switch here. The goal is to swap at least once per fight to draw out their fighting type, so that Obstagoon doesn't have to deal with it later in a neutral lead at least. So I'll start taking a look at some of these games. They're going to swap out the Skarmory lead into Alolan Marowak and swap right into Obstagoon. Obstagoon is by far your best Alolan Marowak counter. Alolan Marowak can't really do anything to you. You're either going to end up with a shield advantage or an energy advantage or some sort of advantage out of this. Bone Club is a really, really weak move, and Shadow Bone is triple resisted by Obstagoon. So you're going to see I already have that shield advantage, and I'm at Night Slash, and unfortunately I'm going to have to shield if I'm going to want to get another move off, and I do. So I'm going to get this free move off on their Whiscash, so this is the energy advantage I'm talking about, and then I'll swap out. Unfortunately, I got the boost there and then swapped out, but it is what it is. You can't really tell you got the boost until you've got it already. So this is Water and Whiscash. I don't really know the counts for it, so I'm just going to do my best. I'm willing to spend a shield here to preserve the energy on my Vigoroth, but it does not come to that, luckily. And come right back in with the Alolan Marowak. Go for the Bulldoze, because I just want shields down at this point. If I get shields down, Skarmory will just faint to 1 Thunderbolt, which I know I will get to for sure. But because they didn't shield there, this game is a bit trickier, but it's not too big of a deal still. So in this case, I'm going to go for the Psycho Boost. I'm at 2 Psycho Boosts now, and I will probably swap to clear debuffs here into Obstagoon, and then Psycho Boost again. So that was just the easy way of guaranteeing myself the win. Just because I'm not sure if an unboosted Psycho Boost, sorry, a debuffed Psycho Boost actually KOs the Skarmory there. So as we move into the next game, actually, I think this game was versus a tanker, unfortunately, yeah. So sorry about keeping this one in. Did not really mean to. It was a nice shiny flex at the front there, but unfortunately we're not able to see the rest of his Pokemon there. But it is what it is. This is the one free one I got I guess you got to take them if you can get them, but I don't know. For me, I just want to play GBL, so it's kind of a disappointment. A neutral lead here, and they swap out beforehand. I go for the Thunderbolt because I don't really have a bait move here. I know they're going to shield because they shield a Thunderbolt or a Rock Slide. I'm going to charge up to Psycho Boost and get out of there. My Deoxys is taking a ton of damage, and I kind of need this Togekiss down, so I'm going to swap into Vigoroth. I will shield once, just because otherwise I will be taking a little bit too much damage to be able to get off 2 Body Slams, which is what is kind of necessary to beat this Togekiss. Another thing to note with this team, the timing of my charge moves, for the most part, is very deliberate. I'm running counter, so it's a 2-turn fast move on all my Pokemon. So I'm using this as a good opportunity to practice counting my fast moves to not let them get extra charge moves in if we have different turn fast moves, or fast move denial if they also have a 2-turn fast move. So in this case, I've kind of clued into the fact that they have a lot of high damage fast moves. So I assumed it was a full fast move team, which is why I shielded there on the Ice Beam, but then it comes out with a Licky Licky, and luckily for me, Obstagoon triple resist Lick, and was able to hit back with super effective counters, so this game ended up being quite easy for me. We're going to step into the next game. I learned this team a little bit better as we go on. Luckily for you guys, you're not seeing the first, I think, 6 sets that I played, which, so I've learned most of the matchups now and how to play this. The Galarian Stunfisk, this is in Kang's not last video, but one of his more recent videos about improving as a player. He mentions about being efficient with your moves. So Deoxys-Defense deals super effective damage with his fast move against Galarian Stunfisk, but not very effective damage with his charge moves. So in those cases versus Galarian Stunfisk lead, I want to stay in and farm up energy with my super effective fast move. But I don't want to throw any of my energy. I want to save it for later. Like, for example, versus this Umbreon, I can throw Thunderbolt at it. It'll deal a lot more damage than it will on the Galarian Stunfisk. So it's all about just being efficient with that energy. So I swap Umbreon into Vigoroth. This is a bit odd. I gain shield advantage here. And I'm able to bring in Obstagoon to farm this Umbreon all the way down. Obstagoon, even better than Vigoroth against Umbreon, can just tank those foul plays like they're pretty much nothing, and I'm just going to go for a Night Slash here in the Skarmory. I know they have 2 sealed types now, so counter is going to be putting in a lot of work, and I actually get the boost, so the boost kind of seals the deal here. I think it was definitely winnable without the boost, but this makes it an absolute stomp, and I'm going to get the boost again, so this poor guy does not even bring out his Galarian Stunfisk. I did want to see how fast I could delete it, but unfortunately he's not going to give me the pleasure of evaporating the Galarian Stunfisk there. Yeah. So new season, new rewards as well. Just kidding, Trico again. Haha. But yeah. On to the next set. That's the first 5-0 here. There's a couple more where that came from. Like I said, I even started with a 15-game win streak. So I think over half of my sets, 6 of them have been true 5-0s so far. So a lot of rare candies at the beginning of this season. That's for sure. So a neutral matchup here. I throw a Psycho Boost and swap. I think we're going to CMP tie. But I think they lost a turn at the beginning, so that's why I go first. Doesn't really matter who goes first. But we both swap out at the same time. So like I was talking about, there's only one shared weakness really between Psychic and Dark, and that's Bug. And Bug is generally non-existent in GBL, but this is one of those cases where it is certainly existent. This V-Drill, as soon as it threw right after 5 Poison Jabs, I kind of figured it was Foul Stinger, because no one throws X-Scissors that early. At least bait your bigger move. But because he's boosted a couple times now, my Vigoroth, I don't feel good shielding Foul Stingers, so I will not. I'm just going to keep letting them through and trying to burn shields. So hopefully I get this Psycho Boost to burn the last shield off of this Beedrill, and then it's really all up to Obstagoon here. So 2 shield advantage on Obstagoon. Unfortunately, it'll be a 1 shield advantage because I will shield a 3 times boosted Foul Stinger, super effective hit, and take down this Beedrill. So in this case, we have Cresselia, and they actually sack swap here into their Swampert, able to take them down before having to spend a shield, which is absolutely huge. Now it's Obstagoon versus Cresselia. This matchup isn't as good as you're thinking, just because you're thinking Dark versus Psychic. Well, first of all, counters resisted. Second of all, Cresselia runs Moonblast, which is super effective and a huge nuke. I think at this HP it would be very close to one-shotting, but it's not a guarantee. It would be very close. Unfortunately, we're not going to find out because this guy is running just Grass Knot. So luckily for me, or maybe they just thought that they needed to throw the Grass Knot. I wasn't really counting moves. I don't know the counts for Cresselia that well because it's not that common of a Pokemon in Great League, at least. Sure, it's everywhere in Ultra League, but I don't really play that too much anymore. Open Ultra League. I already see a Skarmory lead here. I'm gonna charge a little. I realize it's Steel Wing, so they're actually gonna swap out, and they're gonna swap into Galarian Stunfisk. I'm gonna swap right away too. I know this is just a Rock Slide, so I'll let it through. And then they're going to get to another Rock Slide here. And I do end up shielding because I want to preserve some health. I charge up a little bit more, and then I'm going to throw Bulldoze. Bulldoze almost never gets shielded just because they don't want you to farm them down anyways, but Galarian Stunfisk hits back pretty hard against Vigoroth. You can't just do the full farm down unless you want to spend multiple shields. And I don't. So Skarmory comes back in. They're going to try and farm me down, but you just can't do that to Vigoroth. Vigoroth hits so hard, so consistently. And they're going to CMP tie, unfortunately for them, and waste their energy there. In this case, I'm going to go for the Psycho Boost, assuming they're going to shield, pop out to Obstagoon again to clear the debuff, and luckily for me, they swap out at the same time. And it's Alolan Marowak, which is the dream come true. So I don't have to shield anything. I would say if you're an Alolan Marowak player and you're up against an Obstagoon, I would charge up to a Fire Blast just to try and get a shield. I'm not going to shield the Bone Club, but if they charge up to a Fire Blast, I'll blow a shield just to make sure I'm not getting memed on or something like that. And yeah, so I just charge up to 2 Night Slashes there and pretty much take down the Skarmory instantly as soon as they come back in. But yeah, don't run Steel Wing on Skarmory, I would say. I would run the flying type moves, but is what it is. Whiscash lead. Whiscash generally seen as a pretty good counter Deoxys-Defense because it resists all the charge moves except for Psycho Boost, and you can't just be debuffing yourself unless you're in the lead. So we're going to throw that, deal quite a bit of damage, and they're going to swap in Shift Tree. So interesting swap. This happened a couple times actually over these sets. People swapping Shift Tree into Vigoroth. This is not a good matchup for Shift Tree. I think technically you can win a shield advantage without shielding. So look, I have 2 shields down already, and I honestly considered not shielding this, just because I can come into Obstagoon right after. But look, I have a shield advantage and switch advantage still. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to swap Shift Tree into Vigoroth. If anything, they should have swapped this Azumarill into Vigoroth instead. But they're going to try and farm me all the way down, and they do, but I'm able to put quite a bit of damage out first, and they have no shields remaining. I'm just hoping this isn't a Hydro Pump here, but they bait me with the Ice Beam instead, and Whiscash comes out, and it's going to get a charge move here. What I really should have done is, so yeah, I do that. Okay, perfect. I charge up to the Thunderbolt, so that when I come back in against this Azumarill, I'm just going to be able to one-shot it, unless it has energy from this Obstagoon matchup. And this guy's just throwing Mud Bombs. Yeah, so this is the game that was essentially won. I restarted my app. I got this weird screen, and then my Deoxys fainted, and that was that. So while this was a loss, honestly, this was a pretty unlosable game. The most probable course of action was that Obstagoon was going to gunk shot the Azumarill, but even if I had come back and the Whiscash had beat my Obstagoon, it doesn't matter because the Deoxys-Defense just needs to get a couple more counters and faint the Whiscash and get the Thunderbolt off versus an Azumarill with no energy, or with not enough energy for an Ice Beam. So this next game, it rewarded me with not being able to see the opponent and this bug where I keep sending out my Deoxys. This was actually, it made the fast move mini, or sorry, the charge move mini games much harder because swiping the bubbles when there's constant explosions and stuff like that. Like, this was extremely confusing. I don't actually know what Pokemon that is right now. Probably a Vaporeon, yeah. And we're going to see an Aerodactyl come in, so I can finally see their Pokemon. Big advantage for me here. And unfortunately, I'm not going to get to the body slam. Someone's running a Kanto Cup team here or something. I don't know. But I'll shield whatever Aerodactyl has and just farm down. So Jirachi actually comes in, and this is a pretty good scenario for me. I swap to Obstagoon, and I do that before I realize it's running Charge Beam because of the constant flashing on my screen from these Pokeballs. I am so sorry about this, guys. But I think this just goes to show you that with this team, the biggest threat, your biggest opponent is lag and bugs. So I'm finally going to get a Gunk Shot off. Love that animation and just KO that Vaporeon. But yeah, I'm just restarting just because I think that fixes this bug. I had to restart multiple times to try and figure this out. So I unfortunately did not cut this out. But we're going to get right back into the games. Here. We're going to see a Lantern lead here. So another neutral lead. I charge up a little bit more, I think, just to get the fast move denial off. And then Psycho Boost, and we're going to swap right into Vigoroth, and they're going to swap into Shift Tree again. So this is Bullet Shift Tree 2, which I guess is slightly better versus Obstagoon. But it's against Vigoroth, so really the same as the other Shift Tree, except it's also running Leaf Tornado. So I CMP tie here with their next Leaf Tornado, and I shield. I really should not have shielded. Waste of a shield. But in this case, the Shift Tree does take me down to a shield, or doesn't give me a shield advantage. Instead, just I have more health. And Wigglytuff comes back in. This is really rough. I can't have Obstagoon going up against this, so I can't play this like I normally would with throwing a Psycho Boost and then swapping again. And unfortunately, I'm going to throw my last shield here and just try and farm all the way down. And out comes the Lantern, and I am really greedy. I go for that counter, and because of that, this game is now winnable for my opponent. But they go for Thunderbolt. There's no Hydro Pump here, and I just need to get 2 Night Slashes, and it's still not too bad, but considering I had charge moves stored up on Deoxys-Defense, this game should not have been that close, even. And I'll get the boost right at the end. But yeah, this was a four-win set that honestly, realistically, could have been a 5-win. I think that's the worst way to lose a game is lag, because then you know it's there's nothing you did wrong. In a lot of games, if you lose, it's you can boil it down to one point in the game or the team building where it all went wrong for you, and then that's your fault. You can't really get mad at someone else, right? But with lag, it's just you do everything right, and it. Sometimes it just doesn't pay off. We're going to see Wigglytuff lead again. I'm not sure how I'm going to play this one. Charge up quite a bit, 2 Psycho Boosts, and I'll throw and get out. I think I go for 2. So you see I throw a counter there just because they have a 3-turn fast move, and they're going to let the second Psycho Boost through. They know it's not a Rock Slide or Thunderbolt or anything, but what they don't know is this is really important for me because I do need to get rid of this Charmer. I don't really have that much that deals with Charmers, and they're going to come with their second Fairy. So double Fairy team. This is honestly not a great scenario, but at least they brought their Azio. So this is the point of switching to Vigoroth here instead of just beating Wigglytuff with Deoxys-Defense. So because I swapped to Vigoroth, they're going to bring out their Fairy type instead. Obstagoon hopefully will not have to deal with it. So this Asmodee gets very low, and they're going to swap into their game. What I really should have done was throw a Psycho Boost and then swap. But yeah, I can only take 1 Frenzy Plant. I can charge up to a Gunk Shot and then throw a Night Slash in hopes that they'll shield. But they don't, and I get the boost. So I'm going to go for the second Night Slash, and they're going to shield that. So I guess that's something I didn't consider. People want to shield the second Night Slash if there's 2. So Gunk Shots will probably go through more often than not. On different teams that might be important, but for this team, I was actually really scared I was lagging again. For this team, I think just because you have so much consistent damage, you want to be throwing the cheaper move most of the time. And it's not really necessary to land the gunk shot. Like in that scenario, we didn't need to land the gunk shot. Just needed to land the Night Slashes. So Venusaur lead. This is another Pokemon that resists fighting. But luckily it is very weak to Psychic. So I really just need to get some of these Psycho Boosts off. Unfortunately, they swapped to Obstagoon. Interesting play into Deoxys-Defense, who actually beats Obstagoon. So I could have stayed in, but I decided, I really needed the Deoxys-Defense to beat the Venusaur. And because I swapped into Vigoroth, that's the other thing. They bring out their Machamp. This would never have happened if I stayed in with Deoxys-Defense. So now they just have a bunch of Pokemon weak to Psychic. So I know Deoxys-Defense is going to have to put in a ton of work here. I'm going to go for Psycho Boost. I'm going to go for a second Psycho Boost, at which they catch on their Venusaur. But is that even really a catch? I'm going to swap into my Obstagoon. I don't know if I can 100% tank a Frenzy Plant. I think I can. But I shield the first one anyways. And I can't quite farm down to get to the second one. But I'll shield it because I'm going to be at a gunk shot. And either this Machamp is going to have to throw energy to feint my Obstagoon, and then I can beat him to a Psycho Boost. Or I'll just get the gunk shot off, and the game will end right there. So I get to see some more trash can throwing. Always a nice thing to see for sure. We're going to see Azumarill lead. So Azumarill lead, you have to stay in. This is the one neutral lead matchup that I would say you do have to stay in, just because your backline doesn't really deal with it very well. Vigoroth is okay, but so what I do is almost charge up to the Thunderbolt. I'm sure they're not counting. Go over the Psycho Boost. They almost always shield, and then swap to Vigoroth. At this point, if I get to a Body Slam, they let it through. It's over. And since they baited me last time, or tried to bait me last time, I'm just gonna go in with the shield. I thought it might have been a Hydro Pump, but it was a play rough. So 9 other moveset, which is fine. But they don't have any shields anymore, and this Deoxys is quite a good counter to most of my team because it has fighting type damage, and resists counter as well. But I also have my own Deoxys-Defense, and I will throw a Psycho Boost right away and swap. And I don't mind swapping then, just because the charge moves aren't what threaten Obstagoon. It's the fast moves. So they're going to swap right into their Azumarill, and I'm not going to be able to counter this down without a shield, so I'm going to have to shield here. But I should be able to leave this energy with a fair amount, match up with a fair amount of energy. But still, this is one of the closer games that I've run into. One of the ones that really I was worried about losing at some point, and one where Cross Chop might have actually been better than Gunk Shot. But this might have been the only scenario. They realize now that they're going to have to throw their energy. I think they're just charging up. They're trying to farm me down with Lockdown, but that just doesn't work. Versus Obstagoon and Deoxys-Defense is going to be able to come in and easily finish up that Registeel. So you'll see this scenario a lot. Their last Pokemon in the back, like, oh, I'm getting so lucky. Like their Pokemon in the back was a Dark type or Steel type or something. No, that's how the team works, right? Like they can't bring out their Dark or Steel type at any point. So their Pokemon in the back is likely going to be weak to the Pokemon that you have. It's all a part of the team building. It's some people might think it's luck, but a lot of times it's not luck at all. It's all about forcing your opponent to play in a certain way based on your team, and that's what's happening here. So Frostlass, actually, I did not anticipate this Pokemon to see it at all, but it does do a very good job versus this team. Ghost type that double resist counter, but also can hit back with Ice, which is neutral, and a very strong Ice move at that, which is neutral to every Pokemon. And I really just need to. Okay, so actually they probably would have won the game there if they just swapped in, but they swapped the Shiftry into my boosted Obstagoon, and I don't mind using a shield here. Now I have 2 Night Slashes, and the Night Slash, 1 Night Slash, even unboosted, will KO this Frostlass. So luckily for me, my opponent swapped out. This is the one where I think that I should have just lost. Frostlass is just a very good answer for this team, but luckily you don't really see Frostlass at all. So that all works out. We're seeing Obstagoon lead. I'm just going to swap right away, even though Deoxys-Defense... Oh, no, I'm not. They're going to swap for some reason. Okay. Because Deoxys-Defense does beat Obstagoon. But they're going to swap right into Alolan Marowak. Good thing I didn't swap right away. Now I have this really, really solid matchup. Yeah, they're going to let the first one through. I'm just not going to shield. And now I know both of my Pokemon are pretty good against Obstagoon as well. Yeah, luckily I got the boost there. See, we're getting a lot of boosts today. And my Vigoroth is able to farm down their Obstagoon. I'm surprised their Obstagoon did not throw a move there, even if it was just a Night Slash. Because now, with 2 shields, this Wigglytuff could have done a ton of damage, but now this Wigglytuff doesn't have any shields. So, I go for the Thunderbolt in this case just because it's the more consistent way of winning, even though double Psycho Boost probably could have done it as well. I do have 2 shields, but I would just prefer to take the safer route in most of these games. Yeah, so after a couple, honestly, pretty tough wins, able to close this one out with a 5-0. I don't know if this was the last set or not. Have not been counting. Much better at counting fast moves than I am at counting sets. I think this might have been the last one here. But anyways, I do have a bunch more Great League teams that I've kind of been theory crafting, or Pokemon that I really do want to try and make work. If not practice for Nightfall Cup, then just in general. So I am excited to try them out in some future videos. I'll try and front load them in Great League, but yeah, I do have a couple more ideas that I'm really excited to try. Oh, I guess I do have one more set here. We're gonna Hypno lead here. I'm gonna count to 5 confusions, and I'm gonna try and catch Shadow Ball, and we'll see if he tried to bait. If he didn't, it's absolutely fantastic. Shadow Ball does no damage, and I'm in a huge favorable position here. It's going to be very hard to lose this game at this point. I've also baited out their only fighter, I'm assuming, and their best counter Obstagoon. I'm going to clear their energy so they don't even have energy for a Shadow Ball to threaten Deoxys-Defense, and Deoxys-Defense can just come back in and farm down the Lucario. And Deoxys has a ton of energy too. They're going to come in with Umbreon, and at this point Obstagoon can kind of solo the rest of the team, especially if I can get that shield down. So I'm just going to farm, and luckily they bring in Hypno, so I don't have to just hold that 100 energy. And I can fish for the boost instead, and they're going to realize that the game is pretty much over at that point. And we're going to, yeah, I see they increased the range at which, the matchmaking range in terms of ranks. They realize it's not too important, it's more about the hidden rating. We're going to see a Lapras lead. I actually kind of half expected them to swap out here. I'm going to throw a Psycho Boost. I think I stay in a little bit more to... No, I don't. I swap. Sometimes I stay in a little bit more to take the charge move damage just because Deoxys-Defense is tankier. But instead I'll swap, and this is going to bring out their Cresselia. So not the normal counter you would see to Vigoroth, but a counter nonetheless. Cresselia actually gives this team a little bit of trouble as it resists all the counter damage. But I know that most of my team is in the same boat here, so I might as well just keep trying to get to body slams. Honestly, probably shouldn't have shielded there, and I realized that I'm going to let this one through. I did get a shield from it, but the thing is, they have a Lapras, and both Pokemon that I'm running beat this Lapras very, very handily. So I'm going to come with Deoxys-Defense because if you can, you should, just so you can clear debuffs. So Galarian Stunfisk, be efficient with your attacks, throw super effective counters in, and then swap out once I have a Thunderbolt. This Thunderbolt might come in handy later when I'm dealing with this Lapras. But what I didn't realize is that my opponent could probably switch too, and that's what they're going to do. So I'm just going to try and eliminate this Lapras as quick as I can. I shield the Surf, although I probably should not have in hindsight. And I'm going to go for the fast move to now and Night Slash here. And at this point, I think Deoxys can farm down Galarian Stunfisk anyways, but I swapped to catch the move. Because I didn't want to, well, I guess Obstagoon wins CMP tie anyways. Yeah, swapping was dumb. I don't know what I'm doing. I just wasted my time and their time. So sorry about that. In the moment it made sense, but watching it back, that was really, really not a good play. But yeah, the constant counter pressure makes it so Pokemon like Lapras can't really come in anywhere. And same with this Magnezone. The Shadow Magnezone swaps instantly into Azumarill, which is best case scenario for me. I need to eliminate this Azumarill. Unfortunately, they're just going to throw shields at this. I guess that's fine. I assumed... Oh, bad call right there. I assumed that they would want to save shields for the Shadow Magnezone. So I found it a bit odd that they're not only single shielding, but double shielding their Azumarill. And it's kind of very important that I get to this Thunderbolt. Just because the rest of the charges don't really do that much damage. Now they have no shields, so I'm fine going into this Vigoroth. I'll blow a shield because I know they have Hydro Pump now, and they baited me. So I will have to take an Ice Beam of damage here. Perfect baits by my opponent in this case. And they're going to swap into Jumpluff. So Jumpluff, another Pokemon that resists counter damage. But Body Slams will add up, and they're throwing Aerial Ace, which does not do a ton of damage. In this case, they really wanted to charge up to, I think it's Energy Ball that Jumpluff runs. And I'm going to swap out there just because I didn't want to get farmed down by Bullet Seed. Although in hindsight, that probably would not have happened anyways. I overcharge a little bit just because I want some energy to go into this next matchup. But Shadow Magnezone is going to take a ton of damage from these counters. And if I can get a Night Slash off, it's pretty much over. I'm going to shield, even though I'm pretty sure it's Mirror Shot. Because why would they want to debuff themselves there? I guess they can swap. But I did want to get that energy off so I can beat the Azumarill, and then now I have 2 counter users left against this Magnezone. So fairly easy win there. In this next matchup, we're going to see a Toxicroak lead. So this is a Pokemon that I haven't seen a lot of, but it's a very good Pokemon in its own right, and honestly maybe the best replacement for Deoxys-Defense on this team. But the problem is you really have to beat Toxicroak with your Deoxys-Defense. Obstagoon and Vigoroth both really struggle versus it. So I was charging for 2 Psycho Boosts, but they swapped out. So now my Deoxys-Defense has all this energy. And I am forced to blow another shield on Rock Slide because Bulldoze didn't KO. So I'm down 2 shields to none here. I'm assuming their Toxicroak will come right back in. I'm not going to quite get to the Body Slam. And they're actually going to catch this Psycho Boost on Cresselia. I'm going to charge up and try and catch a move on Obstagoon. But luckily they're actually blowing shields on Cresselia. So this should have been a lost game. I'm trying to think. Like, I feel like I didn't lose this game. Yeah, so you can survive a Moonblast. I feel like this game is somehow unlosable, or for them, but I do remember winning. Yeah, and they're going to swap in their Toxicroak, and I'm going to right away get this Psycho Boost off. Yeah, so I'm not sure how this happened. I think it's a combination of Confusion Cresselia, and I think they lagged a bit there. I didn't stop attacking because I've been burned by that, where all of a sudden all their fast moves come at once. But unfortunately, I think they did lag a little bit there, but it wouldn't have mattered just because they threw the Grass Knot anyways. So I'm not sure why they didn't charge up to the Moonblast. I think that could have given them the win, or it at least would have been closer. But I think the big mistake was shielding the Cresselia and not saving shields for Toxicroak. Because if you just save shields for Toxicroak, farm down the Obstagoon, and then shield the Psycho Boost, you can beat the Deoxys-Defense for sure. So luckily able to manage to pull off that win, even though it looked like it was a pretty unwinnable match there. And we're going to see Skarmory versus Vigoroth. They're actually staying in with the Skarmory, which is interesting. So I shielded because I assumed that they were going to Brave Bird and then swap out. But that was not the case. So they have a shield advantage now. And Whiscash comes in. Pretty neutral matchup against all Pokemon here. especially with the goal to swap Deoxys out as much as possible. So I am fine not shielding Mud Bombs ever. I'm actually able to get to another Body Slam, so just look how much damage Vigoroth does. I'm able to get shield advantage back, or tie shield advantage, and I'm just going to try and farm all the way down. If it's a Blizzard, it's a Blizzard. It does quite a bit of damage, but not enough to warrant a shield here. So Umbreon's going to come out, I'm assuming, as the only mono-type Dark you really normally see. And once Obstagoon comes out, they kind of know the game is over. Yeah, and they're going to save everyone some time here. Obstagoon is probably as hard of a counter as you can get versus some of these Dark types. So we're going to see another, 5-0 there. I'm not sure if that one deserved to be a 5-0. There's that one game. I made so many mistakes, and they made a lot of good plays, like with the catch on the Psycho Boost, only to kind of throw them away at the end. But in the end, well played to all my opponents. It'll be interesting to see what the rankings are like when everything comes out. As usual, I will put the Discord link and the Patreon link in the video description. If you don't want to support me on Patreon, the Discord is a pretty active community. Actually, I'm very happy with the way it's turned out. Everyone interacts a lot. We had a ton of Rixie and Mesprit raids, and Azalf raids, I guess, but I feel like I don't need to mention those because most of the players in the Discord are from North America, but there's some people from all over the world. So that's been a lot of fun. So even if you don't want to support me on Patreon, that's fine too. Just pop in Discord. It's been a lot of fun interacting with everybody. And as always, guys, thanks for watching.